Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach Pod. Actually, do you want to do the intro?
No, I don't even know. Sparky Coach Pod. That's about as far as I know.
Yeah. Pro here with the big Heath dog. Heath Knight from Hspark Electrical, based out of God's country, aka
Yep.
Picton.
Yep.
How are ya?
Good, mate. Yourself?
How are ya?
How are you? How are ya?
How are ya?
You want an oxy?
I thought my how are ya wasn't very good. How are ya?
Yeah, no, it's quite good actually. It's stupid now because every time me and Jaden talk on the phone, it's like he picks up and he goes, "Hey, mate," because he knows if he says it, it's all over.
It's so good. Now you got punked by the ceiling fan god, the accent king, myself. How does that feel to be on the other side of the punking, maybe a couple months in?
I probably have PTSD from it because, like I always say to you, I'm like, it's hilarious, but it's so slack because, like, everyone who calls up who's Chinese, I'm just like, mate, no, I'm not doing it.
Someone actually, because I've only got one accent, and that's my accent. And someone messaged me and said, "Oh, like something racist or something." And I'm like, "Oh, it's just my only accent. That's not like it's not a
Racist,
race thing.
yeah.
It's the only accent I've actually got in the whole thing." But anyway, we shall move on. What are you? So what's happening now? So you're coming into. We're just talking off air. Coming into. You're about 5.5 years in.
Yeah.
And you know. I kind of like almost came crashing down at about the fifth year. So the fifth year will make, or I reckon the fifth year will make or break you, and it takes 5 years to get into a rhythm. But like, I don't even know if you're comfortable. I mean, we didn't even talk about it. I don't know if you're comfortable even talking about it. But like, how bad did it get?
I just feel like it was probably like started Christmas. I can't quite remember, but I remember it kind of like, we were flying along and then I think it was about 4.5 ish, and then the first thing, which I haven't even told you about this, but the first thing was that we got like a big my previous account, like had this big, like, not tax bill, but just like a bass, like a quarterly bass, and she was doing it quarterly bass. And she was kind of on the outs at the time, and we got this massive bill, which was sweet because we had the money there, and we're like, oh, it's all good. We paid that, which obviously put a bit of a dent, and then we got in the last financial, at the like new accountant, like we got like another, I don't know, like $75,000 tax bill. And like that was also sweet because we're like, oh, that's fine. Like we're all good. We can pay it. And then he done some things on his end, and like we ended up either way, the $75,000 disappeared and went, like, it got paid out to where it needed to get paid out to, which was like a big hit. And then when we come back, like I said, we took that job that you know about that had the show, there's a bit of a stuff up on that, like a bit of probably me not being as organized as I wanted to be, and then also the builder not being as organized as he said he would be, so a bit of fault on both, and then not not having like the right team around me at the time to kind of take on a job like that. But so then that job created like a lot of stress and lost a fair bit of money on it, and then a builder that we done lots of work for, he went bust. So he was like, he was bringing in a fair bit of work. He went bust, and then so we kind of just, for like the last, I feel like it was 12 months, it was always just like touch and go. More so like, yes, money, but more so just like stress as well. Just like, fuck, I'm just so over it. And then obviously, funny enough, I met you, so maybe you're the godsend, who knows? But I met you, and then kind of had like some boys. There was a stage where I had some boys quit that were like really important to me. And then anyways, what was that, 4 months ago? Yeah, I've been with you 4 months now, hey?
Yeah, maybe June, July, August. I can't remember.
Yeah, so
Something
it
like that.
would have
July.
been
Yeah.
around then.
Yeah.
Obviously learning a lot of my current situation, and then yeah, now it's like a full new team, and then yeah, it's very confusing sometimes to think where I was. Like it was like yeah, it was that 5 year sort of make it or break it sort of phase where I felt that.
5 year perfect storm in a
Yeah.
negative sense, you would say. It's interesting. One of the first questions we ask when people come on board is, do you have an excellent accountant? And then how is everyone's pay structure? So I'm just going to go sideways here. If you've ever been caught with a large tax bill, tax is relatively predictable. Like there's
Mm.
I'm not talking at you here. I'm talking to the
No,
masses.
yeah.
It's important to have a good accountant, important to be on top of everything. It's also important to put yourself on a market wage, because at a market wage, if you see, first and foremost, the success to the business depends on if you can see yourself as an employee or not. Because if you see yourself as an employee, you act like an employee and you get some work done, and then you'll be replaceable, which is the kind of two things. You want to be productive in your environment, and you want to be replaceable in your environment. And the replaceable is subjective depending on the goals of the business. But if you pay yourself a market wage, you'll chip out your PAYG into, it'll come out in IAS or BAS statements, or IAS being monthly or BAS being quarterly. So you'll be chipping away at that. So your tax bill will be a shock from company tax only,
Mm.
which will be like embarrassing company tax. So it'll be predictable. Sorry, GST and company tax will be relatively predictable if you're chucking the numbers into our calculator. So it's like, if a tax bill has ever caught you off guard, my big question is, do you have the right team around you to help that? And so you had a BAS bill, you had obviously some personal tax due, then you had a misquote of a job with the wrong team. And when you're relying on cash flow as cash, and coming into January, there's probably no better time to talk about this, because a lot of times,
Yeah.
you'd be sending, I mean, just you're sending, what are you sending a weekly invoices at the moment, like 50 grand or something like that, or 40,
Yeah,
30?
yeah, probably like between 25 and 50 really, like just depending and then
Yeah. So let's
yeah,
let's call it 40, 30, let's call it
yeah,
35. So there's 70
35, yeah.
grand, 70 grand not coming in, but all your stuff's still going out. So people can get trapped, especially when you're using cash flow as cash. You can get trapped in this like weird in between, where it's like you're relying on the money coming in to pay out, and you're always sort of catching up. And I think it's
Yeah.
really interesting just to talk about. And I think the goal, everyone's goals for next year should be like, if I'm holding my hands up, if you're listening to audio, if you're consistently hitting like a wall of like catch up, fall back, catch up, fall back, catch up, fall back. Next year, the goal should be to flip that script, not be up to date, but be ahead of everything. And I think that's one of the big rhymes and reasons of business. So, talk to us about, like, I want to touch on the 5 year itch for you, or like, bad itch, you might even say, negative itch, because were there warning signs leading up to that, for you personally, like when you look back at now, because like, what did life look like this time last year? Were you super busy coming into it? Did you, like, what's your
Um,
reflection on this time last year?
yeah, like a lot, I guess this year, which we briefly spoke about a few, this year, okay, so yeah, the year before we had small things booked, but it was like definitely a stressor. And obviously not knowing about like not having your calculator and whatnot as well. Um, it was always just I felt like it's like, oh, I'm making money, but like I'm not making money in a sense. Like, I just always felt like, wait, how can, like I was always paying myself a market wage, which is good, but like money in the company was also like, it was always just kind of stagnant. And if you had one big expense, it just felt like, well, there goes that money that was made. But now learning your calculator, it's crazy to think where it actually was truly last year. It was actually a lot worse than I thought at the time. Where obviously right now I feel like I know exactly where I'm going to be, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, like at the time, obviously not very busy. Took that job, and it was like that not misquote, but allowance, I guess, because they already gave me the allowance, and I just thought, yep, that's fine, I can meet that. Um, so yeah, it's a very different now. Like my time going into like next year is still like is I guess it would what would you call it? Like I guess it's proactive now. Where last year it wasn't. It was just like, can't wait for the holidays, finally the holidays, and then, oh yeah, I've got this job, so that'll be fine. I only had like two or three boys, I think, at the time, like maybe three boys. Um, and then yeah, I didn't really have like I wasn't really like it's weird. I wasn't really that stressed, but now looking back, I should have probably been a lot more stressed than I was. If that, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because and what do you reckon in you? Because I think any Sparky or even tradesperson in general can you can slot yourself into a situation where you've taken a job that you shouldn't have taken, or someone's given you like a budget, or this person's at 40, we need you to be at 40. And I don't know if there's anyone that's running a business that hasn't misquoted a job before.
Mm,
And and I look at something like, remember Bremner's post he put up on, remember
yeah,
that? And
yeah,
I love Jost. Like he's one of my favorite humans ever. It's just the funny thing is when he put that post up, if you don't know the post, I think he said someone had quoted below his break even. And everyone's like, oh, they're not going to finish the job. A poor man's pays twice. I think one of the saddest things of the whole story is that most people I know would have misquote a job would still finish it with high integrity. You're still sending labor materials when there's no budget. Like, look at how you finished the job that shall remain nameless.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
high integrity, high enthusiasm, maybe low enthusiasm on the back end, but high, you still showing up with a good attitude, getting it done. And that's most of our stories that, you misquote it and you see the job out. And I think it's like, it's so interesting to talk about because maybe sometimes a poor man or a poor person doesn't pay twice. Maybe
no, 100%.
a smart
Yeah.
person pays once. And but what's your reflection looking back at that? Like, what made you accept a job that was it just a lack of awareness? Was it too busy? Lack of numbers? Was it like a perfect combination storm? What do you reckon?
Um,
What do you reckon it was? Was it ego of like, yeah, we'll smash that job out? Was it like finding a new client? Like
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I would say, yeah, I wouldn't say like ego. I would say like new client and like the supervisor who I still talk to now. He doesn't work there anymore. Supervisor was awesome. Like he was really good, and the way he kind of pushed like how the companies ran is like was very like up our alley really. Like was really good, and I just think it was like probably overexcitement. And you know what? I actually could have, if I look back, I could have made money on the job, 100%. It's just that I mismanaged it from their mismanagement. So it was like a double whammy. Like if I had like my best bloke up there and paid him whatever per week and said, just you look after it, it's going to be a long time and you come home on the weekends, you'd make money on it. Do you know what I mean? But it was just that our style of work is predominantly getting things done pretty quick and with a full team. So like we could do two or three jobs a day and have two or three people on each one, whatever it is, and make like a good turnaround where I went into a bit of a like hospitality project job and like the other supervisor comes in and gets fired. Like these boys are so fast, eh? And the guy's like, yeah, geez, I've never worked with one's faster than this. But that was because that was our style. Like we were neat and fast because we had like four boys on it, including myself, like all doing it, checking off, like doing all our checklists, whatever. But then I'd be like, oh, okay, so when's fit off? And they'd say X date. We'd all go up there for the week of accommodation books and they'd be like, yeah, no, the cheapies didn't get as far as we thought. And it's like, what do you do in that scenario? Do you go, oh, okay, well, I'm charging you now because you're not going to get it either way. So then it's like, oh, all right. So we'd have all this accommodation paid for, and then we'd be all up there kind of twiddling our thumbs. You know what I mean? Just like, so it was like, that happened like a fair few times. And then there was just like disputes with the owner and things weren't sent through to myself. Like, we were working off, I think when we walked through the job, they said, the architect said, oh, why is he switching? And I said, oh, that's on our plan. And she said, oh, you're working off like, revision A, we're on like revision D. And I was like, wait, so we completed this whole project off the first revision? She's like, I have no idea how you've done this. And I'm like, well, we've done it. So yeah.
Oh, it makes me think of this commercial cafe we did, and I think I might have shared this story before. I come to fit off the lights. I don't know what year this is, 2015. Come to fit off these lights in this really tight ceiling space, and it's like I look at them, I look at the driver. I'm like, what's this? What's this? Like, what's Dali? Which was Dali. I had no, I had no idea. So I had no idea about like Dali dimming. Just basically roughed in like a standard 240 volt when Dali works off the 0 to 10. So basically had to reconfigure everything. And the amount of jobs I misquoted and finished, the amount of jobs most people misquoted and finished well is like it's almost reminds me of the grand final analogy, whether it's whatever ice hockey, rugby league, AFL, you got to lose one to win one. Is usually like
Yeah,
sometimes you've got to lose something, whether it's money or time or energy or effort to win something, and because like okay, don't do that again, and your personality type's probably not too dissimilar to mine in a way. You can be like hyper bull at a gate and I'm just going to make this thing happen. And the reality is some things you can't make happen. So the reality is
yeah.
sometimes you can't do it for cheaper than what you think. But what's your reflection? Because it's like, the goal is to never land yourself in that position again. But in saying that, like you can flip the script completely and be like, well, you either pay for a client with your money, your time, your energy, your efforts, or something. You sweat into it, and you've met like a client that you're probably still going to work for into the future from a misquote, and you build some good relationships from a misquote. So it's not like all is lost and damned to
No.
eternal trade hell, but there's some positives to take out of it. But like, well, how would you approach that differently now? And what's your encouragement to someone sort of coming through the ranks, so to speak, for lack of better terminology, that sort of gets given a budget, gets given a price, gets given someone else's price? Like, how do you stop and collaborate and listen to yourself now that's different to what you had previously done?
Yeah, well, like they've sent me, I've done work for them on like doing charge rates, and it's always been fine, made money on it, as you do, cost plus. And then they've sent me jobs at like I froth at like Adidas stores and like Nike stores, and but you look at their allowances, and I guess like in a way I do appreciate their allowances because I could look at it and then just be like, yeah, 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 no, can't do it. And like we've sat, like if someone doesn't have access to yourself, like we've sat down and gone, oh, this is $120,000 job, and their budget's like 45 grand, and you're like, all right, well, let's just say we were going at X% profit margin, it's at least $100,000, and their budget's like 44. You just got to learn to say no. That like it's not. Yeah, it's not like definitely double check. Don't worry about the client because if you worry about the client and getting the work and then you go bust, like the client's going to be like, oh, well, that sucks for you. But like, I'll just go to the next Sparky that accepts it. And that's not their issue actually either. Like if they give you a budget and you say you can do it and you can't do it, like that's your fault. That's not their fault. They've openly said what the price is. Do you know what I mean? Like I just feel like I don't blame any of that on them. I think, yeah, their management was crap, but like I haven't met a builder yet that hasn't pushed us back at some time or some stage. Oh, okay, no, sorry, we thought this would be done. Now it's not done. So I think going into that, yeah, going into those projects as well for people who are new, I feel like just understand that there's going to be downtime that you're literally not going to get paid for, or it's just going to bite into your sort of time anyway.
Yeah, and
Um,
the interesting thing about that job was it was 4 hours, pretty
four
much.
hours
Yeah,
away.
yeah, four
Yeah.
hours north, and it's not like you can just drive past and pop in and see how it's going, or it's not like
Yeah.
that's the thing. If you're working away, you've really got to design the stages, and it's actually so much more difficult. Obviously nowadays with FaceTime and bits and pieces and awareness, and also the busy factor. It's interesting. I think when you're really busy, you can make bad decisions really quickly, or especially you're coming into like an operations manager season, a factory season. You're coming into a completely different season where you've made a lot of mistakes, but like they're the sort of one and done. So you misquote something dramatically, and you're probably not going to do that again to the best of your ability. And also, you've quoted things to, are you a weapon on the tools? Would you say weapon?
Yeah, I actually am. Like I actually
Used to
am,
be. I
but
used to be. I used to be. I used to be.
it's
Yeah.
I'm definitely the worst now because the phone goes and like you know what I mean. But like when I actually like, yeah, do something, I'm like, oh, I'm actually good if I'm left alone.
Yeah, yeah.
So like,
On a clean Saturday or after hours job, I'm amazing with no phone. But it's
yeah,
like you come from quoting of your ability, like, oh, I'll smash that job out in 3 days or 5 days or 10 days, whatever it is, and come back and we'll fit off. And there's no mistakes because it's you, and there's all the variations they handled because it's you, and you're working off revision D, not revision A, because it's you. And there's so many factors that are you based to why the job went well, or a great tradie can make an average apprentice look good
yeah,
or make a great tradie can make a pretty good apprentice a weapon, or another pretty good tradie a weapon, because it's just about like decision making and pathways forward, and hey, watch out for this, and you're preempting things and stuff like that. So I think you're coming into a super exciting next season where the past is behind you, and it's like, what, and what's your reflection like looking back in this year? Are you like, are you sort of thinking you have to go through a really low point, um, or would you do you like, hey, I didn't have to go through that? Like, how do you personally feel about it?
no, like it's kind of said in worse, yeah. Like as bad as it sounds, I'd do it again to end up where I am now. Like it's just one of those things. It's like it's yeah, it's like even with fighting, like I lost a few fights, and I'd be like, fuck loser. Nah, but you know what I mean? I'd be like, oh no, I'm not like I don't want to do this anymore, rather I'm sick of it. Like I put in so much work and it doesn't work out, yada yada. But then it's like now looking back, I'm like, oh, I'm actually glad I lost, like because it builds character, and it's like same as like this job. Like if I wouldn't have went through that, I probably would have like not self-destruct, but without kind of going through somewhere like say I reached out to someone like yourself and said, fuck, I need help, eh? Like I don't know what I'm doing, which is most of the people in business. Like I just feel like I wouldn't have kind of went I wouldn't be where I am now. And like I have such a better team now. Like no disrespect to the other team. Love them. I just have such a better team now. And like even like Nick, who you need to get on here eventually, but Nick, like he's going into like the ops manager, like even just stealing him from his own company, like just things that like if those things didn't happen, I would never have went as hard as I went for certain in certain like aspects of my life that ended up being a lot better now. So it's like I can't really turn around and be like, oh, I would never do that again, because I would. Like I would actually do it to end up here. Because I feel like it was probably just going down a bad path anyway that I didn't really know about.
Yeah, your story is always funny to me, because I think I sat with you, and I think Reba might have been there as well, and you were like, I've got no money, but I'm like, just get paid something and give me some of it. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's kind of like, it always stuck with me in a positive sense of going like, I'm personally super proud of your business, and we can't take full credit for that. Like
Yeah.
you're in the driver's seat. We're just got a map out pretty much, and the old Gregory Street directory, pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, super interesting. And like coming into next year, what are you excited about? Like what are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to dialing in? Is it a type of work? Is obviously you're super stoked with your team now. Oh, I want to ask
Yeah.
you before we get into next year, give you some time to think about it. What makes your team better now than like, or what for you creates a good team, a great team, and how do you foster that and create that? How much is by design, and how much is like nature nurture kind of stuff?
Yeah. Is that answer right now? Like, or
Just in general, like what makes a good, what makes a team good?
I
Do you
I
think?
think a funny thing that like I know Nick will listen to this, and sometimes the boys listen to it. I think a massive thing for me is that the biggest thing I've seen shift since bringing on the boys I've got on is I guess my attitude, in a sense of like I'm so relaxed. Like the boys call me with like this massive issue in their eyes, and I'm like, no, it's all good. Don't worry, just do this. And they're like, oh, and they talk between themselves, saying how like they literally go, I swear he's like high all the time because he's never stressed, right? But I like to flip that and put it's because of the boys I have. Like I'm like, it's all good. Like don't do you know what I mean? Like I know that they're all doing their best that they can do. If I thought there was like a shadow of a doubt of like, oh, they're taking the piss, they're doing this, they're doing that, I would then be having the shits. But I feel like for me, that's like my biggest shift. Like, Phil will call me like, oh, they need this, they need that. Like, because they need, I said, no, no, it's all good. Just do this and tell them to call me if they have an issue. And then he'll be like, oh, okay, that's something that like he was so stressed out about. But it's because I know that like I know Phil's going to get it done. I know he's trying his best, doing whatever he can do to get things done. That like I'm then more relaxed about the phone calls, and like same with Nick. So I feel like within that, like within just that sort of me having that feeling, I know I've got the right boys, if that makes sense. Like I don't have this massive story about them, but I just know that they're the ones that actually make me feel relaxed. And when they call me with an issue, I know that I'm just like their venting call, but I know that they'll be able to sort it out themselves.
Yeah,
So I
you're like
just,
the conduit between them and the answer. But
yeah, I'm just like, nah, it's
yeah.
all good. Don't worry about it. We'll sort, oh yeah, but this, but that. I'm like, it's all good, but there's also nothing we can do about it. So let's just get it done and then we'll move on to the next thing. And like, yeah, for me, that's what, like, I don't have like a big song and I just know I've got the right boys because like I know, like they make me feel relaxed. Like I have them on jobs, and they're blowing up my phone right now as we speak. Right, like literally have called like 6 times, and I'm like, it's all good. You'll figure it out. And I'll call them back and go, all right, what's up? And they'll be like, nah, it's all good. It's sorted. But you know what I mean? That doesn't stress me out. That's how I know I have the right boys. Until Nick watches this and is like, bro, I was calling you for something important.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because, and I think one of the most underrated parts of running a successful business is making good decisions consistently over time, like 5 or 10
Yeah.
years. So if you can if you can retain a good to great team over 5 to 10 years, that's huge. Like your phones, I think people think staff are a magic answer, and in some ways they are because you can be omnipresent and producing labor and selling materials in places where you couldn't be if it's just you. But also like um, they're still going to call you, but someone who's been with your company 5 to 10 years is going to call you a lot less than someone who's been with the company for 1 to 3 years. So just that they're comfortable with, oh, I know how Hspark operate. I know the decision Heath would make. I know I've got a relationship with this client. Yeah, I know. Like, you sort of can
Yeah.
inherently pick up all these things. So I think the coolest thing about you is that you're in the early stages of fostering a great team. So imagine this in 5 years' time. It's all you've got to
Yeah.
do is just keep the crew together and
Yeah.
keep adding in ingredients about keep adding in the right ingredients.
Yeah.
So coming into having a bit of a weapon A team, this is going to be an interesting question.
Mm.
What are you looking for in a person in a job interview, or like, I think I said the word job interview loosely, like it could be a beer or a kombucha or it could be a phone call. Like, what are you looking for in someone coming to work for Hspark?
Just a good personality to start with. Like just like a good person. Like I feel like I always get asked this question too on like Fire Up Friday, but like, yeah, just a good person that does what they say. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like it's probably a perfect time to ask as well, because as you know, that guy, like he messaged me on Facebook and he's like, oh, hey man, are you hiring? And I'm like, yeah, like all the time, like whenever, like I'm always hiring. Like if I can't go past you, of course I'll hire you. And like essentially he's like, oh, cool, man. Like I'll give you a call. So like I had a chat to him, and like I've got all these other people like apply resumes and do all this stuff, but like no one ever called me, no one ever checked in on their resume. Like, do you know what I mean? For me, I'm like, oh, you just throwing it through and going, oh yeah, job, but you don't actually care about who you're working for. Where that's a big thing for me. Like I'd rather someone call me and talk to me and say, oh, I want to work for you. Like I'm not just applying for all these jobs. And essentially that's what he done. Like he called, like we spoke, and I said, "Oh, so why do you want to work for me? Like, do you know what I mean? What's the go there? Like, there's heaps of people hiring in Sydney." He goes, "Oh, I followed your stuff for a while, this and that. I mean, like, you just seem like you really care about your boys, and like, I've worked for big companies, I've worked for smaller, and like, there's no appreciation. Like, and like, you seem like you really care about your boys, and like, you're always having a laugh with them and stuff." So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, sweet. Like that's good that you can pick that up and want to work for me. But then at the same time, I said to him, oh, okay, like what's your experience? He tells me his experience, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Well, how about this? I'll put you on or whatever. Like, and if you're not who you say you are, you'll be gone. And it's pretty simple. Like, it's not. You said you can do XXX, and then same thing for him. Like, if I'm not who I say I am or show I am, then same thing. He can leave. But yeah, like just he sounded like a really good guy, and he literally just says, I just want to be appreciated in my job. So I'm like, well, that's simple for me.
Yeah, yeah. That's people just want to be paid well and appreciated,
Yeah.
pretty much. And you could even argue that sometimes words speak loudly than money. I know money speaks higher to people with family, mortgage, kids, obviously, because it actually you probably need it at that point. But I love that. It's amazing what I really don't think social media is the be all and end all of an electrical business. Some of the most successful businesses we work with
Oh, yeah.
don't even have social media. But like, I think that the way the new age is going and stuff like that, it's such an interesting like. You might as well be on it. And I think the cool thing is with you, you obviously put yourself out there a fair bit in the face of camera stuff, and you can't lie about yourself when you're on a face of camera, or you might be
No.
able to for a season, but it's a small season, and then when people just get to know you, and I think that stuff's so underrated, putting yourself out there a little bit and letting people see the real you, not I think probably the algorithm picks this up as well, but not being perfect in your delivery, but
Yeah.
making mistakes and having a laugh. And like life's not perfect, so don't expect me on camera or pod to be perfect. I think that says a lot about you in a really positive way. People would want
Yeah.
to work there, so that's super cool. And how is Fire Up Friday going, by the way?
Yeah, it's good. It's just like it's like I get so many people like we get like maybe 600 people like view the story and like we might get 20 30 questions, which is really good, but it's like I've said before, I'm like I watch people come back. Like they've already watched and then they're watching like yeah, I mean like they watch like say it's like oh, Sparky Coach has watched these 3 videos. And then it's like Sparky Coach have watched these 4. I'm like, well, he's clearly coming back. Like do you know what I mean? So I'm like, why are these people like they don't ask, just ask a question? Because obviously, like people like it, they enjoy it, and I feel like it's just it's become a thing where like so many people like message me like, "Fuck yeah, it's Friday." Like they're like, I've got no questions, but I'm curious to see what you're gonna get asked, and I feel like it's just like yeah, those things there shows like who I actually am as a person. And I did want to touch on like before, I did try and go for a stage where I thought I was too friendly like and too like oh like you're my friend, and I tried to kind of change my persona to be more of a boss figure, and it probably lasted like 2 weeks until it just comes out naturally that I'm more of just like a friendly person. Like don't get me wrong, if I have to put the boss hat on I can put it on very easily, but I feel like that's kind of why people are starting. Like I've had subbies now reach out and go oh I'd love to do some work for you next year, and I'm think that's so weird. Like why would you want to work for another company? But like I'm like, oh, why is that? Like, oh, you just seem like pretty cool. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's so weird. It's like, yeah, but you're a subby. Like you should just want to work for whoever. But they literally reach out, oh, I want to do some work for you. Here's my rates. And you're like that to me. I'm like, that's social media. That's nothing to do with like anything else but social media.
It's a really interesting. Yeah, you always talk about staff retention and stuff like that, and there's so much of staff retention. Yes, it's pay, and yes, it's just so much is like not tangible, like
Yeah.
treating them well, which is really hard to put like one metric on a calculator, or consistently erring on their side, or like just believing in them, all this kind of stuff. That's it, or giving them a pathway within your company, or giving them a bit of challenge at work. And it's such an interesting thing to talk about, because I feel like if you do a good job, the goal of any business is to what? Retain long-term staff and long-term clients. Anyone, it's
Mm.
like having long-term relationships. They're going to be your friends. That's why I can't get around people that can't work for their friends and family. I'm like, if you stick with someone long enough, hopefully they'll be like your friends and family, because relationships win when everyone wins. It's no good just like pillaging the village and taking your money and running off into the
Mm.
sunset. It's like both parties have to win out of a quote, out of a relationship, out of a cost plus job, out of an employment contract, and that's when everyone can thrive, when both people are winning. Yes, I'll hold you to a standard, but you'll get some money and we'll increase you. Like it's really like a bit of tit for tat in that sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's super cool. What's your advice to someone? Oh, how I want to get into that next 5 year comment that we talked about before, but like, what's your advice to someone getting out there and meeting people in terms of clients and stuff? How did you meet your top 3 clients? I don't need to know who they are, but just how did you go about meeting? them?
Trying to think my who would my top three clients be?
Or just,
What
three of your top 10 clients or
three? Yeah, three. Yeah, yeah. Okay. One was like my wife. It was her friend. Was like a part of an organization, and she reached out to like a Sparky who was her brother-in-law, and her brother-in-law turned around and said, "Nah, just get him to do it." Because then I knew him from the gym, so it was a bit of an intertwine. And then when I met her, I'm like, "Oh, you're Rhiannon's friend." She's like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know you were a Sparky." So like that ended up being a very good relationship, which was just happened to friends of friends, I guess. And then the other people were actually some of the other people were pushed from other Sparky mobs, like bigger Sparky mobs, where essentially they've called said, "Oh, we want a tender for this," and like the bigger guys that are around like 30 or 40 boys, they said, "Nah, we don't know you. We're not tendering for you." Like some of them are very picky, so then they've pushed it to me. I'm like, "Yeah, sweet. I'll like quote up," and then it's ended up being a good relationship. So funny enough, like yeah, lots of my stuff's come from um yeah, like either other Sparkies and like still friends who run big companies, or just friends of friends. And then obviously retaining them, which is the most important bit, has all been me. Like I do everything I can to try and take whatever I need to off their plate. Like, yeah, if there's something I can just deal with because I'm in the office and they don't have to deal with it, I'll call them and say, "Hey, we've got an issue with yada yada yada, but I've removed this, done that, done that. I'll make sure I source new stuff here and get this, and I'll do that. They don't have to worry about it. It's just going to be like 2 days late." They're like, "Oh my God, okay, that's fine." Like, but I don't call them and go, "Oh, what do you want me to do here?" Like, I kind of just give it the solution. And yeah, that's how I look at it, is just to take whatever I can from their plate and put it onto mine so I can retain that relationship, really. Because I feel like just that's where people miss the boat. They have an issue and they're like, "Oh, well, we can't get it done on this date because there's a part that I don't have." And then like that's it. That's the end of the story. And the client's left there going, "Well, I need it done."
Yeah, the product is so important, especially because you're gaining more perspective of, especially at your size and your role, where you literally, one hand in the office and one hand on site, and the other hand because you are Goro from remember Goro from Mortal Kombat? He's got four
Yeah.
arms.
Yeah.
One hand on clients and one hand on profit. It's literally Goro. Four hands, which would be amazing sometimes to have, and sometimes probably a bit awkward, especially driving. But like you just sort of holistically approaching the product. It's not about, like, so many people, especially in the first 3 years, think it's just about their delivery on site. I'm a weapon. I'm so good, and it can't just be about that, because as your company grows and you've got to get back to people, you've got to answer the phone, you've got to respond to emails, you've got to order materials, you've got to be there when you say you are, you've got to make sure you're making money because both parties have to win, you've got to go back and fix something for free, or go back and answer the phone on a Saturday. There's lots of stuff that builds a relationship, and I think I think the coolest thing about you is you naturally do a lot of those things
Mm.
well. So I think, like, and that for a lot of people is the hard part, where you do that quite easily, and they
Yeah, I used to get worried that like I'm too like I don't want to actually be on the tools and I just want to like talk to the boys and like talk to the clients and organize stuff. I thought that was like until I met you and you're like, "No, that's your skill." I'm like, "Oh, I thought that was just like a lazy trait." And then
yeah.
I talk to other people and they're like, "Oh, I hate doing that." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "That's like I froth on that. Like I love obviously like there's relationships you're like, "Oh, I don't want to make that call." But I prefer those conversations than, yeah, I don't know. It is weird, but
No, it's
unlocked, skill unlocked.
yeah. You got to. I think we've added to our slogan, like, be yourself, and I think that's important, where you work out where do you organically fit in the best. Um, where's your personality's best use in your company? And I think for sure for you, that's like retaining staff, retaining clients, finding clients, and obviously the numbers have to be in there because you're doing a lot of the quoting and stuff like that. And coming into the next 12 months, what's exciting for you? Like, we touched on this earlier in the pod, but like, you're coming into a factory,
Yeah,
which
April,
in April
which I
you're
will not be competing with Rewired or New Age, just to throw it out there. No,
you're not going to get some sexy table and just
I'm
no.
getting a pool table and I'm gonna find it on Marketplace, to be honest. So
What was the difference between a pool table and a table tennis table? Like what?
Uh,
Not the difference, but like what made
I
you?
was gonna say, wait,
Yeah.
isn't it
What
obvious?
what made you decide on that?
I sent a message to the boys. I said, "What do we want? Pool table or ping pong?" And they said, "Oh, I'd probably pay more pool than I would ping pong." And they're like, "And pool's more of a like." You don't play ping pong and have beers. And like I'm not really a beer drinker, but like have you ever seen ping pong and beers? You don't. You say pool and beers. So I'm trying to create something where the boys like they can come back like we got like a fridge in that they can have a drink and have or a super duper kombucha or whatever, and then they can play some pool. Where like you don't do that ping pong. You just don't do it.
I don't know. I feel like you can do it. You can make whatever. I would prefer
But
a
how
ping
are you
pong
meant to
table.
tell me this? How are you meant to put your beer on the table? See, pool, you can put your beer on the table. Like I said, don't drink beer, but figuratively speaking, beer on table. Shot, beer up. Ping pong, no, you can't. You got to have a beer. It's just the convenience.
It's a valid point. It's a valid point.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's all good. We're splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
And so it's super exciting time of business for you. Like lots of growth, lots of what ifs. And if you're ever
Yeah.
worrying, this is a sideways comment for anyone listening. If you're ever finding yourself operating out of fear too much, fear is just what if in the negative sense. And I guess the opposite or antithesis of fear can be faith. So it's like, yes, everything's going to work. So if you're going to go what if in a negative sense, you've also got to go what if in a positive sense. And I think that's the coolest thing. And we just finished a pod. It'll probably come out before this about how business is about having your feet in the sand, but your head in the clouds. So you got to be like dreaming and all that kind of stuff. But you've also got to know where you're currently at, and you've also got to recognize what's the disconnect between where I want to be and where I currently am, and how can I get better. So, what are you excited about coming into the next sort of 12 to 18 months? Like, yeah, what gets you out of bed? What gets you motivated? What do you want to see?
Um,
The future of Hspark.
yeah, just growth, like as in positive growth, whether or not that's like, we're putting on a subby pretty much full time next year. We've got a new tradie starting. Um, and yeah, just the thought of kind of building that team that I've always wanted. And yeah, just organization, like just doing good work. Like we've met some good builders this year that, I've openly said, were we good or were we shit? And they said, no, you're good. I'm like, so you'll send me more work, right? Like, surely. And they're like, yeah, no, 100%. I'm like, all right, good. So just like, yeah, doing that type of stuff and, just yeah, kind of building that business that I know I can build. It's just I've probably been my own worst enemy technically. Like Cam said the other day to Simone, Heath, you're actually the worst nightmare in this company right now. You need to step away. Like you need to stop doing stuff. And I'm like, fuck, he's right. So yeah, just being more organized, just a bit more structured, I guess. And then obviously like still to work with you guys and then yeah, just do good jobs in that. And the factory's like an exciting thing because like finally like we'll have my own place. Um, and then yeah, just like to onwards and upwards from there, whether or not that means I get more boys or I don't get more boys. Like just yeah, having something that I feel like we've got a bit of a name now and people are starting to come to us, which is what we've always done it for. And then obviously putting on the two other boys and the factory brings that like risk taking factor, which I really like, which I feel is like just inherent in any person that owns a business. They just have this weird sort of risk mentality that like it excites them, which is yeah, like I was just talking to Simone about it and I'm like, oh, I'm shitting bricks, but like fuck it, who cares?
Yeah,
Like
where else would you rather be in the?
yeah, what am I gonna do? Not do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just yeah.
Yeah, and it's so exciting. I was so pumped for your future. I think like um, seeing you over the past 6 months like settle down. I think you're in a really good headspace. You're making good decisions, and the risks you're taking are calculated, which is exactly where you want to be. You've got a really good team around you. You've got a good office team, and I think you've got the best days are ahead. And super pumped to see you sitting down. Where sit down in 3 months, 6 months, whenever we catch up again in the pod. Like it'd be really exciting to see the journey and your learnings. And I think you got something really special in terms of you can be challenged and you respond to challenges really well, which maybe that comes back to the fighting side of thing as well.
Oh yeah,
You're
hundred
always
percent.
looking at yourself. What could I do better? How could I have that conversation better? You are incredibly um, open to like healthy criticism, I think, as
Yeah.
well, from the right people, which I think is big, but you're also not open to criticism from the wrong people, which I think so. And you mentioned this before, it's it's business is about sometimes what you say no to. And I think I love that you say no to like dickheads, and you got no
Yeah.
time for people that aren't genuine and authentic
Yeah.
and in it for the right reasons, which I think is
Mm.
super cool because it's just going to land you in the right seat. So yeah, so okay, so pumped to have you on board, pumped for the future. What if you had, and you should have, if you,
I
if
prefer
you
free. See, I prefer freestyling. That's
okay,
my
so if
thing.
you had one short one opportunity to bless the people into the day, it could be a freestyle rap, it could be like play pool or die trying. What would you say to the people? You might be referencing someone. I'm just buying you some time here, right? Like, but
Yeah.
you might be thinking about someone in the startup, 3 years of business, someone in that 5 year slump. You might be thinking about the future. Like, what would you say?
I just think that if you're gonna build a business, like just build it to your personality. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like if you're not being who you are within your business, like then why would you do it? Like, essentially, like you may as well just go work for someone and be pretend. Like, you know what I mean? I just that's just a massive thing at the moment for me. That's just like my business is going to reflect my personality. We always get comments that, oh, the boys are so friendly, they're so lovely, this and that. Like, we're not perfect. We fuck up. Like, we leave rubbish behind. We don't pack our tools up sometimes. People get blasted. But at the end of the day, like, I never wanted to run a business where people were scared to come to work and they felt like threatened. I always want them to be like, cruisy, like, to be like, oh, mad, like I'm going to work, like, do you know what I mean? Not like, fuck work, like, like just like, oh yeah, work, like whatever. Like, I know we all want to get paid and do nothing, 100%, but I just feel like if you're going to build a company, try and build it to that standard where, like, yeah, it's a good place for other people to come and yourself to come. And if you're the boss, you don't have to work with dickheads, so just sack them.
I love that. Yeah. It's almost like a beautiful message. Like fall in love with yourself again, and who you are is important
Mm,
in the community, in your family, and you have, and this is you and everyone have great traits that only you have.
mm.
So bring them to the front, fall in love with yourself again, and fall in love with the business again, because no one started it to be like a drag to go to. So if it's not enjoyable right now, what would it look like if it was enjoyable? What kind of hours you'd be
Yeah,
working? What kind of money would you be making? And sometimes it's like sometimes I see when people come on Sparky Coach, it's like you just need that. It's not even you need that one good month close or that one good week close. You need that one good like green job close, and it's like I got this. Sometimes it's just like that little sign of hope, and it's like, cool. I got this. So no, pump man,
yeah.
pump for the future, frothing for you, and then
Thank you, bro.
we're here for you. And
Yeah, mad.
what's the plan the rest of the day? What are you doing?
I'm actually, speaking of criticism, about to go up and sit with Simone and say, okay, where am I letting you down? And write it all down. And then fix up, I'm just going to go up to her and say, okay, where have I let you down? Where have I done this? Where have I done that? Write it all down on the board and then say, all right, let's create something together. I can't create it because whatever she deals with, is better than me. I don't, you know what I mean? So yeah, just essentially going to talk to her, say, yeah, where did I let you down? What do I not give you enough of? And then, we'll just go from there and we'll just start spitballing ideas to make her job easier. Because yeah, so it's all my fault at the end of the day anyway. Like it all comes from the top. So
Yeah, 100%. And that's the coolest way to approach it. So, all right. Well, hey, don't hang up this call because you got to let it load. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
thanks
yeah.
for hanging out, and we'll see everyone soon. Peace.
Legend, cheers, bro.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.